Welcome to Introduction to Number Systems. In this lecture, we will cover representation of whole numbers. More interestingly, we'll also cover alternate representation of whole numbers. This is a fairly unique concept here, which will help you appreciate that the way we write numbers today are just one representation of the number system. There are many such number systems which can be used to represent the same numbers. Right? So this alternate representation of whole numbers is a fairly important concept which will be discussed in this lecture. It will then lead to decimal system. This is a system that most of you are familiar with today, but we will arrive at this from a very intuitive manner. And in future lectures, we'll combine this alternate representation of whole numbers to derive other forms of number systems apart from decimal system. For example, binary, hexadecimal, and so on. Okay. So the most important piece of this entire lecture in this video is this alternate representation of whole numbers, which will help you appreciate the various ways that you can represent the same quantity, same number. Before we start learning the number system, let's do a small puzzle. Let's say you live in a house which is close to a shop, and the shop sells sweetmeats called laddus. Right? Now, all of you would be familiar with laddus and probably like it also. Okay? And the shop is a little bit distance away from you. Let's say you want to order 23 laddus as shown in this picture here. Okay? There are 4 rows of 5 laddu plus 3. There are a total of 23 laddus that you want to order. Okay? And this the shopkeeper will make in his shop and has to transport to your house. Okay? To transport this, he has some boxes with him. He's got one box which can contain 10 laddus, and he's got a smaller box which can hold 1 laddu each. So that basically two kinds of boxes. A smaller box which can hold 1 laddu, and a bigger box which can hold 10 laddus. Okay. He has many such boxes. So there are 10 boxes, 10 laddu boxes, that he has many. Same with the 1 laddu boxes, there's many of them. Now, there's a constraint. If you use a 10 laddu box, you cannot stuff it up with lesser than 10 laddus. That means if you take a 10 laddu box, you will have to put 10 laddus in it. Like in this picture, I've shown 5 laddus. This is not allowed. Okay. You will have to have 10 laddus packed in a 10 laddu box. So if you take a 10 laddu box, it needs to have 10 laddus inside it. It can't have 0, 1, 2 up to 9. It has to have 10 laddus. Same with the 1 laddu box. If you take a 1 laddu box, it cannot have no laddus. It needs to have 1 laddu in it. Tell me, how many ways can you think of sending the 23 laddus from the shop to your house? The question really is, how many combinations of boxes can you use to transport the 23 laddus from the shop to your house? It take a little bit of time. Think about it. You can pause the video here for some time, right? And then when you come back, we'll take a look at what the solutions are. Okay? This is a kind of a puzzle, but it will lead us to understanding number systems in a much better way. So I encourage you to think about it a little bit and then come back. Take 10 minutes, no problem at all. So let's see the solutions. Let's start with using the small boxes first. Use as many small boxes as you can, okay, to start with. Solution here is very simple. The shopkeeper will use 23 1 laddu box to transfer the 23 laddus from the shop to the house. Each laddu box contains 1 laddu, so he needs 23 such boxes. This is the most simple and trivial solution to the problem. The second case, we'll start using large boxes first. In this case, the 10 laddu boxes first. and anything remaining which can't be transported in the 10 laddu box, we'll use the 1 laddu box. So here we will use 2 boxes each containing 10 laddus. That makes it up to 20 laddus, and then the 3 remaining laddus go into 1 laddu box each. So you have to have 2 10 laddu boxes and 3 1 laddu box. So these are the 2 extreme solutions. So now let's take a look at the intermediate solution that is possible. We saw the small boxes first. We used all the small boxes. Then the second solution, we saw the big boxes first. We used 2 big boxes and 3 small boxes for the 23 laddus. Now let's take a look at the intermediate solution. In the intermediate solution, we'll use only one 10 laddu box, not 2 or 0. We'll use one 10 laddu box and 13 1 laddu box. This is another way of sending the 23 laddus from the shop to the home. Okay. This is also valid. So let's take a look at the 3 solutions that we have come up so far. First one, we used the small boxes first. In fact, only the small boxes. So we have to use 23 small boxes to transfer the laddus from the shop to the home. In the second solution, we said we'll use the big boxes first, as many big boxes as possible. So in the case of 23, we have to use 2 10 laddu boxes and 3 1 laddu box. In the intermediate solution, it's a mix of the big boxes and small boxes. So we used one 10 laddu box and 13 1 laddu box. In fact, all these 3 mechanisms of transporting the 23 laddus from the shop to the home are okay, because there is no other constraint added. The only constraint we added is if you add a box, it has to be full. It cannot be partially full or empty. Okay. With that, all these mechanisms of transporting 23 laddus, the only small boxes, big boxes first and then the small box, and the intermediate form are all okay. So you have seen the 3 box combinations to send the 23 laddus from the shop to the home. But now let's say, apart from sending the laddus, the shop needs to send a bill, right, in which it is written how many laddus the shop is sending from the bill from the shop to the house. So let's say if they have to send 1 laddu, they'll put the symbol in the bill. If they are sending 2 laddus, they'll put this symbol in the bill. If it is 3 laddus, they'll put this symbol in the bill. 4 laddus will have this symbol. 5 laddus will have this symbol. 6 laddus will have this symbol, and so on and so forth. Right? Remember, notice that I call these are symbols. These are the symbols that we have learned from childhood to represent the numbers 1 to 9. These are the Indo-Arabic numerals that we learned in our childhood. Obviously, there are different numeral systems. For example, the Roman numeral systems, the representations of 1, 2, 3, 4 were completely different. Right? So will be in Chinese or maybe in Kannada or in Hindi. The representation for all these will be different. That's why these I'm calling symbols, though these are the most familiar symbols for all of us today. So we've seen up to 9 we had literals, and then we have to see how to represent 10 laddus, how to send 10 laddus from the shop to the house. Right? So let's take the same 3 cases, then see how we can go about doing it. First, let's take the small boxes first case. The small boxes first case, the 10 laddus will be sent in 10 individual boxes, and they will be represented by a letter A. Right? Because we had 0 to 9 taken, and then we'll start with the letters, alphabets, English alphabets, A, B, C, D, so on and so forth. So 10 will be represented by A, 11 can be represented by B, 12 can be represented by a C, and so on and so forth. Right? So if we go with the sequence, 23 will have to be represented by the letter N. Since you ordered 23 laddus, in the bill, you'll have to put an N and send it across. So when you see N, you'll know there are 23 laddus that are going to be sent. Okay. Remember, these are choices of symbols only, right? When you see a A, it means 10. If you see a B, it means 11. If you see a C, then it is 12. If you see a N, it is 23. Right? There's no sacrosanct thing just to use only 0 to 9. Right? You could use other symbols to represent literal numbers as well. Just like in the Roman numbers, we used to have 1, I, V, X, and so on, right? It's the same way. It's just that each of these things represent a particular number of laddus that is going to be sent from the shop to your home. Now, up to 9 we have seen. What happens if we have to send the 10th laddu? Let's say we have to send 10 laddus from the shop to the house. What is the symbol that you will put? Okay. The most obvious one is 1 followed by a 0. This is what we have learned in our childhood, that this represents 10. 1 followed by 0 represents 10. Right? But as you have learned before, in Roman numerals this was expressed as an X. Right? X represented 10. Right? Now, given that we are using a letter, why not choose the letter A itself to represent 10? So 1 to 9 represents 1 to 9 laddus. I will choose A to represent 10 laddus. I'll use the alphabets from now on to represent laddus. That's one possibility, right? You could choose your own solution, own symbols to represent 10. There's nothing wrong with it, right? It's just a matter of convenience. It's a matter of practice that we have been using 1 0 so far. All our childhood we have learned that 1 0 is 10. Right? It is 10. Of course it's 10. But these also could represent 10 for you. Okay. Now let's take the large boxes first case. Okay. The large boxes first case, a 10 can be put in a 10 laddu box straight away. Right? In which case in the bill you will just write one big box is being sent and no small boxes are being sent. 1B 0S. If it is 11, you'll have to have one 10 laddu box and one small laddu box. So you will have to send in the bill one big box, which is here, and one small box, which is here. 12 obviously will be one 10 laddu box and two 1 laddu boxes. So the bill you will send one big laddu box and two small laddu boxes. Right? And so on and so forth till you reach 23. We'll see how to represent that. But a better way of representing this, instead of saying one big, 0 small, we'll write the big box, number of big boxes first and then number of small boxes second. Right? So big boxes always appears at the start and then followed by the small box. Right? There's no point writing 1B 0S, 1B 1S, 1B 2S. Because you know, if you put the order, then you know the first one is the big box, second one is the small box. So for 10, you will just write 1 followed by a 0. 1 big box, 0 small box. 11 would be 1 big box and 1 small box. 12 would be 1 big box and 2 small boxes. Right? So you don't have to write this B and S every time. You just write 1 big box and 2 small boxes. 1 big box, 1 small box. 1 big box, no small box. Right? So how do you do 23 then? This is the original order that you placed from the shop. Right? 23 will be sent in 2 10 laddu boxes because large box is first case here, followed by 3 small boxes. So the representation in the bill will be 2 large boxes and 3 small boxes, which is 2 first and then 3. So 2 large boxes and 3 small boxes. This is what you are familiar with, 23. Most of you would be familiar with this. If you say 23, 2, 3, it means 23 laddus, 2 10 laddu boxes and 3 small laddu boxes, constituting 23 laddus that you have ordered. The third case was the intermediate case. Some large boxes and some small boxes. Right? In this case, we'll continue to use the same notation, the big boxes first and then the small boxes the second. Right? The 23 was sent in 1 10 laddu boxes and 13 1 laddu box. So it will be represented as 1 10 laddu box and 13 is D, small laddu boxes. So that just becomes 1D. Right? So this 1D represents 1 10 laddu boxes and 13. D represents 13, so 13 1 laddu boxes. So you'll send the code 1D from the shop to the home. Okay? This is also a valid representation of 23. Remember, N was a valid representation, 2 followed by 3 is a valid representation, 1 followed by a D is also a valid representation. Because in all this, you're getting your 23 laddus that you ordered. Okay? We'll see where this representation will be used later. This, in fact, these representations are used in arithmetic later, and we'll come to that later in the later lecture series. So you have seen three forms of representing the number 23, and we'll have to choose one as a default method of representing the number. We'll do that based on convenience. So of the three forms, which is the most convenient? That we will discuss in the next few slides. The first form was when we chose all the one laddu box only to fill up the laddus. So in this case, we had the letter N, right, to represent 23 laddus. So here you can see that for every quantity, right, you need to have a separate symbol. So 0 could be represented 0, 1 could be represented with a 1, 9 is represented with a 9, 10 we have to represent with a symbol A, 23 represented with a symbol N. So Z will represent 35, and above that you'll have to use a combination of letters or more combination or new symbols by itself. And it is very inconvenient because for every symbol, every number, there is a new symbol. So it is not very convenient and needs a large, because it needs a large number of symbols. So we will not use this representation at all. It is good to know that it can be done, but it is not a convenient form of representation. Okay, now let's take a look at the second case, which is the case of using the big boxes first and then the small box. So when he had to pack 23 laddus, the shopkeeper packed 20 laddus in the 10 laddu boxes and then 3 laddus in the 1 laddu box. This is a pretty nice arrangement because you really need only maximum of 9 laddu boxes of any kind. Let's take this 1 laddu box for example. If you had 9 laddus to send across, you would use 9 1 laddu boxes. The moment you get the 10th laddu, you can use the 10 laddu box. You can send one 10 laddu box. You really don't need 10 1 laddu boxes at that time, right? So the maximum number of boxes of any size that you need is only 9, and that makes it a very convenient representation. So any box, any size box, you really need only 9 of them at any given time. Okay? Same way with the 10. The 10 laddu boxes, you need only maximum of 9. The moment you need the 10th one, that means you have to pack a 100 laddu box. We will introduce a bigger box which can hold 100 laddus. So it's a very convenient and pretty good representation. So we will use this as a base system. We'll see the third one also, but this looks like a very nice system to use. So let's look at the third form. We've seen the first two forms. Let's look at the third form, which was the intermediate form, where we used one 10 laddu box and 13 1 laddu box. Here also, because we have used 1 laddu boxes here to represent 13, we need a large number of symbols, right, to represent the number system. Let's say if it was like 46 was the number, you would probably have used let's say one 10 laddu box and 36 1 laddu box. So 36 has to be represented by a symbol. In that sense, it becomes very similar to this the first case. So you need a very large number of symbols to represent even in this case. So we will not use this as a default system. The default system that we'll be using is this. Okay? You could also notice that the number system that you've chosen also uses the least number of boxes. In the case of 23, let's see, there were 23 boxes to be used here, which effectively means at least 23 symbols so far. This one used 1 plus 13, so 14 boxes, whereas this used only 5 boxes to send across. What this number represents is the number of symbols that you will need, unique symbols that you will need to represent the numbers in the number system, right? So the system that we are going to choose uses the least number of boxes, hence the most efficient way of sending across from the shop to the home. So given that we have the 1 laddu box and the 10 laddu box, let's see what is the maximum number of laddus that you can pack from the shop to the house. Okay, so in the 10 laddu boxes we could use only 9 10 laddu boxes, because we have chosen a representation where we can have maximum of 9 of any size of box, right? So 9 10 laddu boxes can store 90 laddus, and 9 1 laddu box can store 9 more laddus. So we get a total of 99 laddus that can be stored given the 1 laddu box and the 10 laddu box. And this will be written in the bill as 9 followed by another 9, because this 9 represents the number of big boxes, and the second, the green 9, represents the number of small boxes. As I said before, we'll write the number of big boxes first and the number of small boxes later. So you can send a maximum of 99 laddus from the shop to the house, given that we have 9 10 laddu boxes and 9 1 laddu box. So to pack 99 laddus, we use 9 10 laddu boxes and 9 1 laddu box. What happens if we have to send the 100th laddu from the shop to the house? So you have 100 laddus to send now. Obviously, we can't use the 10 laddu box or the 1 laddu box, because you are allowed 9 of each, and the maximum you could pack was 99. That's correct, 99. Now with the 100th laddu, you need the next big box. The big box which can hold 100 laddus in it. Right? And when we do this, we have to represent this as 1 followed by 0 followed by 0. This 1 represents the number of 100 laddu boxes that we need. The 0 represents the number of 10 laddu boxes, the red 0, and the blue 0 represents the number of 1 laddu box. This is the representation, and as we said before, we'll write the biggest number of biggest laddu box first, and then this next smaller one, and the next smaller one. So we'll write as 1 0 0. This is a representation of 100 that most of us are familiar with, but this is how it comes. So now let's say you want to send 123 laddus from the shop to the house. You ordered 123 laddus, and the shopkeeper has to send you 123 laddus. Okay. He will use 100 laddu box, because it's more than 100. He'll use 100 laddu box. He'll use 2 10 boxes and 3 1 box. And in the bill, he'll write it as 1, because this is the largest box first. Then 2, which represents the number of 10 laddu boxes, the next smaller box. And then 3, which is the number of 1 laddu box, and that is the smallest box here. So the bill will read 1 2 3, 123. This is a notation that most of us are familiar with, but this is how it comes. So let's pay a little bit attention to the box sizes that we have used so far. The smallest box could contain 1 laddu, and we said we'll use a maximum of 9 such laddus. So with one box, a box can hold 1 laddu, we can either send no laddus to a maximum of 9 laddus. When you had to send across a 10th laddu, we chose the next big box which could hold 10 laddus each. And we said there could be a maximum of 9 such boxes. So with these two combination of 10 laddu box and 1 laddu box, you can send a maximum of 99 laddus. So when you had to send the 100th laddu, we chose the next big box which could hold 100 laddus each. And we again said that the maximum number of boxes that we need to use is 9. Right? So you can notice that every bigger box compared to the previous one could hold 10x the number of laddus as the previous one. So this could hold 10 times the laddu as the smaller one did. This could hold 10 times the laddus as the 10 laddu box did. Right? And that we had a maximum of 9 box each. And you know why this is? Because we have to have the 10th box, so you obviously use the next bigger size. So with the 1 laddu box, 9 of them, 10 laddu box, 9 of them, and 100 laddu box, 9 of them, a maximum of 999 laddus can be sent. 900 in the 100 laddu boxes, 90 in the 10 laddu boxes, and 9 in the 1 laddu box. Now if you have to send the 1000 laddus from the store to the house, then you will need the next bigger box which will contain 1000 laddus each. And how many of them are allowed to have? Again, 9 of them. Right? So this is a very repeating pattern. Every box holds 10 times the laddu as in the previous box, and each size box can have a maximum of 9 boxes each. Right? This system is called the decimal system. This is what we are most familiar with. This is called the decimal system, in which the deci actually means 10. So this 10 is what is reflected here, the 10x. Right? As you can see, there are other number systems also possible. Right? Decimal is the one that we are most familiar with, possibly because humans have 10 fingers in their hand and that's what they use to count. So this number 10 has come very logically for us, but that is not the only way. There are other systems which use base 2, 2 times bigger boxes than the previous one, 4 times, 8 times, 16 times. You could have innumerable number of number systems. Okay? But the decimal system is the most familiar one for us. So let's summarize whatever we have learned so far. Numbers actually represent quantities. In this example that we have taken, 2, 3 represents 23 laddus, or n represents 23 laddus. That just represents some quantities. There are many ways to represent the same quantity. We have seen that. In our example, we have seen n in the small boxes case, only the small boxes case. In the big box first case, it was 2, 3. And in the mixed representation was 1D. All these represented 23 laddus. So the 23 laddus can be represented by any one form. We just chose 2, 3 as the default because this is the least number of boxes that is needed and is the most convenient form to represent. But n and 1D are also valid representations of the same thing. In the decimal system, we saw that every box contains 10 times more laddus than the previous box. So it started with 1 laddu box, then went to 100 laddu, 10 laddu box, then went to 100 laddu box, then is 1000, then 10,000 laddus and so on and so forth. Right? Because of the 10x, it's called the decimal system. Deci means 10. Right? Decimal system. And that the maximum number of boxes that you need per size is only 9. So you needed only 0 to 9 boxes of each kind. Right? So the literals that you really need to donate to code the amount of laddus that you need to have is only 0 to 9. Okay, so let's do an exercise. Given that we have gone through this video so far, let's just do an exercise. Let's say we take the same shop and house and we take the 23 laddus to be sent from the shop to the house. Okay. The only difference is the sizes of the boxes. The first box can contain 1 laddu, the smallest box. The next bigger box can contain 2 laddus. Instead of 10, we made it just 2. The third box, which is bigger than the 2 laddu box, can contain 4 laddus. Effectively, it is instead of 10 times, it becomes 2 times. 1 multiplied by 2, which is 2. 2 multiplied by 2, that's 4. The next big box will be 8, 16, and so on and so forth. Right? And each of these boxes, you have many number of such boxes. Right? So you have 1 laddu box, 2 laddu box, 4 laddu box, 8 laddu box, 16 laddu boxes, which are not shown here. Next one is 32 and so on. And you have many such boxes of each size. Okay? And whenever you send, the box cannot be empty. Neither can it be partially full, just like we started before. So a 4 laddu box will have to contain 4 laddus. It cannot contain 0, 1, 2, 3. Okay? The same constraint as we started with. Okay? The question is, what is the minimum number of boxes that you will have to use to send this 23 laddus given these sizes of boxes? 1, 2, 4, 8, 16, 32 and so on. Okay? From the shop to the home. And how will you represent that in the bill? Again, when you represent, ensure that you write the bigger box first, then the next smaller box, then the smaller box, then the next smaller box, and the smallest box the last. From right to left. Oh, sorry, left to right. Okay, that is the exercise. And you'll see that this number 23 now can be represented in a different way. So in the decimal we wrote 2 followed by 3. Here you'll have to write slightly differently. Okay, so you'll have to think through If you want to go through this lecture once again and see, and then we'll discuss it in the next video. Thank you very much for watching this.